I think when I'm out whale watching, I kind of just enjoy sitting in some places for a while, being patient, but then obviously I'll check whale pages and the whale watch pages, and I also have a few friends that'll text sometimes about whales in other locations. I feel like, especially when you find some orca or some humpback really close to shore, it's almost like an adrenaline rush, I think so. And I think part of the thrill of it for me is kind of trying to chase them and stay ahead of them and make sure you can see them from multiple vantage points. It's super cool to see them close and feeding. But when you see a pod of orca kind of moving slowly along the shoreline, there's just something different about following them for a couple of hours. Sometimes the orca pods move really slow and it can take them an hour to go. It feels like just in your line of sight, you can just see them for an hour or two. And then other days, you're lucky if you see them, for 5 seconds when they pass you. It's cool to see other people be excited as well and feel that sense of adrenaline rush.
Oh, we just breached. Did you get it? Me too.
I think probably my favorite photo I've gotten was about a year and a half ago. There was an orca pod, and I'm not sure what pod it was, I can't remember, but they were hunting or teaching their little children how to hunt for a good hour or 2 hours on the exact same spot, just going back and forth. Not totally breaching out of the water, but a good majority of their sides exposed where you can see the whole animal instead of just kind of their fin or their fluke or their back. And then that same day I have a couple pretty good photos I really enjoy of the spy hopping of the orca, which is where they kind of just come up with their head, kind of look around. It seems like and go straight back down. So I know a lot of the other local photographers as well get excited if we get spy hops or any sort of breaching for whales is like the cream of the crop photo if you can get that, just because it's so rare to see. And then if you happen to see it, the odds of you having your camera ready and pointed at it and just focus perfectly is so minimal. I've been out here for 5 years and I've seen humpbacks breaching maybe 5 times, and I've gotten them on photograph I think 1 time. So it's just something that's not super common. And so when you get those where you see a lot of the whale out of the water, it's just, that is what you do it for. Yeah, it's going around that boat out there. Now we just need a humpback come up. I'm not sure if this is the B pod, but there is a little baby in between the 2 back guys. The B7 pod, one of them has like a bit fin, so if we see him, we'll know for sure. But it does have 2 large males, so it's very likely it could be them. We're at Mountain Point right now, which is south of Ketchikan, looking for some whales. It is historically, in my mind, a good spot. You have 3 or 4 different points of entry for the whales to kind of appear. Ideally, we'd see some humpbacks or some orca, something like that. It's also a good spot for seals, sea lions, occasional river otters, minks around here as well. Let's say on a typical morning when I come whale watching, I start pretty early, sometimes 5 or 6 a.m. midsummer. It makes it a little bit easier when the sun's up by 3 or 4. I find a good spot along the water where it's kind of calm or quiet. A place like this and get a good vantage point so you can see in multiple directions. Some days I get in my car very little. Some days I'm in my car more than I'm standing by this, beside the water. Just zoom in between places trying to find them or get ahead, get behind them. Try to be at a place they might be in a few minutes. Well, what I tell people mostly for whale watching, just spend the time outside. It's more of a patience and waiting game than anything. Some days you get really lucky and see them in 5 minutes. I've been out here all day sometimes and seen nothing at the same time. Other days I'll get out here and you'll see humpbacks and orca literally at the same time. But yeah, what I tell people mostly, if you really want to see whales in Ketchikan, you just got to put in the time and the effort and spend a lot of time outside searching. Luckily, it's something I enjoy doing all day, every day, and I don't really get bored no matter what, even if I see nothing. Yeah, so there is a local group called Ketchikan Whale Spotters that is very active on Facebook. A lot of the local photographers and a lot of the local whale watchers, and I think just a lot of the local citizens around here will post on it. It's probably the most useful tool if you're looking for whales in Ketchikan. People are pretty good about posting, hey, there is a specific kind of whale, whether it's a humpback or an orca, at this specific location in town, kind of at this time of day. It kind of seems like they're going this way or that way in a certain direction. And if I see a post that's kind of close, I might move that direction or try to get a little bit ahead of where they might be going and get a good vantage point. For me, it's all about trying to get a couple photos or a couple good videos and then just being able to kind of watch and appreciate at the same time. Realistically, I don't think there's any right or wrong information to post on the page. It's just be as detailed as you can be, I think is the main takeaway. I would say the most exciting things for me while watching are the few occasional times that the orca just get really close to the shore. It is pretty cool to also watch the humpback's bubble feed close to the shoreline. Probably one of the cooler things with them is when you can hear the bubbles coming up before the whale actually comes up to feed. I think people are a little bit more invested in identifying the orca pods around here just because we have local pods and transient pods, with the local pods being kind of more specifically in the Pacific Northwest area. And so we see one of those pods quite often. Once you see them enough, you kind of recognize them, but otherwise getting the photographs of their fins or their flukes is really how you do that. And then you have transient orca as well that can still be seen in this area, but they have a lot wider of a range than the resident pods. And then the main difference between those two pods is just different kinds of prey and what they go for. I'm not a total expert on necessarily like the resident pod exact range. I do believe like the northern residents, hopefully I don't get in trouble, but I'm pretty sure it's right around Seattle-ish area to not too crazy far above us, kind of in our range above Ketchikan, Southeast Alaska. If I'm not mistaken, I think the transient ones are sometimes like all the way down to like lower California and stuff like that. I typically will post photos on our local whale watching page, but then there's also a Killer Whales of British Columbia page that does a great job of IDing all of the whales or all of the orca pods and kind of tracking them, and they post updates frequently. And it's pretty much all based on, just citizens out and about getting photos of these guys. Very few people that are doing it for their full-time job.
I manage the Facebook page Killer Whales of BC, and whenever I can, I try to identify the orcas which can be seen in Ketchikan over the last few years. And but now after I think about it, maybe I should edit the page into Killer Whales of BC and Southern Alaska, I think, because there are a lot of orca sightings in Ketchikan in the past few years. And in 2012, I started to find my fascination for the northern residents. Thank you to the internet and thanks to Orca Lab and their live cameras, because these cameras give everyone in the world the chance to see these whales and other whales live in a wild and protected area in the Johnson Street. And in Germany, it's a really huge highlight to have it, because we don't have any resident whales here. And personally for me, it's easier to identify the orcas when pictures are posted, because as soon as an adult male is visible on the picture, I normally know which family it is. And if I know which family it is, it's easier to identify the other animals on the picture. And usually the adult males stay with their mother the whole life, so it's easier to identify first the males, and then I know which family is around. The most important pictures for me are those where the orca is seen from the side. The fin and its notches, the saddle patch and the eye patch are for me the most important features to identifying orcas. Some time ago I joined the Facebook group Whale Spotters Ketchikan, and I'm totally speechless every day, because a lot of orca pictures are posted, and really everyone is happy if I can help them with identify the orcas or give some insights about the families they saw. It's really nice to read how interested the Ketchikan people are in the knowledge, and it's nice to see how they learn more and more about the northern residents, and I love to share everything I can with them. But at the end, it's always a give and a take, because without all the pictures I posted, I would not be able to expand or share all my knowledge with them. So I'm really happy that I know these people and that I know this group. Thank you.
So Whale Sense is a program with NOAA and Whale and Dolphin Conservation. It was started on the East Coast in 2009 and brought to Alaska at, I believe, 2015. And so it is a voluntary training and recognition program. And so the idea is that whale watching and wildlife viewing companies participate in this training program. So all their crew members go through the training each year. And the goal is essentially to support responsible whale viewing practices and promote the industry and responsible guidelines. In Ketchikan, Allen Marine was the first company to participate in WhaleSense, and so we are one of 2 companies. Just because someone is not a member of WhaleSense, of course, doesn't mean that they aren't following the regulations. It just does, they don't go through the same training and the same program every year. Part of the WhaleSense program, of course, is the E is education, so that is both the crew members but also our guests as well. So one of the requirements is that you tell your guests about WhaleSense, explain what the program is, and basically you set up an expectation of like, this is, these are the guidelines, so we're going to stay 100 yards away from the individuals. We're limiting our time to 30 minutes, and so that is the recommended guideline, that you're limiting that, and they don't have the expectation that we're hanging out here for an hour and this is all we're doing. So that is a big component of it as well, and part of this is the outreach. So we're communicating about the whales and telling their stories, sometimes their names, of course, but the things that are concerned for our whale populations. And so there is that element that you're working in, like while you're viewing the animals. So whales are protected under Marine Mammal Protection Act, Endangered Species Act, and then there is additional regulations for Alaska humpback whales. So 100 yards is the regulation for humpbacks, and it's recommended for any marine mammal. It's not just killing an animal or running over a whale. Any harassment could potentially result in a fine or a warning. I mean, that may be the first step, and then if it is a recurring incident, then that may result in a fine. If you're with the whale for more than 30 minutes and it starts changing its behavior, I mean, there's room for interpretation, so that's, just something to keep in mind.
So the fines can be up to $10,000, so it's pretty steep. You want to be situationally aware. So one of the things I often see out on the water is there will be several pretty obvious, for lack of a better word, whale watching boats, but tour boats just floating around out in the middle that are what I would think are very obviously watching whales, because these boats aren't fishing and there's a reason why they're all floating around. And at the same time, then you'll see boats just speeding by on the way going fishing, and they'll go right through the middle of the boat. And I think that's it's always a little terrifying, because there's a whale there, and you have these boats going high speed right over the top of them. And so I think, one thing I'd like everyone to know is just to be on the lookout, because we have whales here all summer long.
Another consideration besides just approach is also leaving the individuals. So if you do watch a whale and you say, okay, that's great, don't just speed up. We want to make sure that we're slowly leaving the area, because that sound does impact them. And that's a big part of the 30-minute rule, is that the sound of the boats does have an impact on the individuals. And so that can force them to change behavior. Of course, with killer whales, they are communicating a lot in a pod, and so you can be disruptive to that as well. If you have humpback, cow and calf, that's another consideration of, you really want to be careful with them, and you don't want to separate them, be extra cautious, give them more room.
We get the question, is a boat more dangerous to a whale, or is a whale more dangerous to a boat? And it can be both. So, and especially a small boat, like a kayak or a paddleboard, obviously that could be very hazardous to
We've all seen the videos.
Yeah, we've seen the videos, but I would definitely venture to say that there are a lot more whales that are killed by vessel strikes, and I don't think I know of any instance of someone being killed by a whale. So I would say overall, it's definitely more dangerous for the whales.
For a land-based whale watcher, it's a little bit easier to respect boundaries and not get in any of the whales or the orca's way. I mean, you can run along the shoreline here and you're probably not going to really disturb the whales if they're feeding or if they're swimming along. I would argue that sometimes if the orcas see you, they might even get a little interested and look at you at times. And similar to what they'll do in boats, if they'll spy hop and kind of look at a boat sometimes. So honestly, the etiquette from my perspective of whale watching is just make sure you're at a safe distance for yourself. Make sure that you're not gonna step on a rock and slip and hurt yourself. Honestly, shore-based, it's a lot of just taking care of yourself and making sure you're safe. As long as you're not harassing or throwing things in the water. I can't imagine you could do too many things from the shoreline that would really hinder a whale's activity. But I will say that's one cool thing I think about whale watching from the shore is you can actually, which sounds counterintuitive, get a lot closer to the whales than you sometimes could in a boat. Anytime the orca are feeding or trying to catch salmon, you don't necessarily always see them with the salmon, but you can see them, changing a lot of directions and seemingly really close to the shoreline at times. A couple weeks ago, maybe about a mile down, one of the orca was, I swear, probably 10 feet, 15 feet from the shoreline. And it's a waiting game. I've been here for 5 years and that's the closest I've ever seen an orca. And I just happened to be in the right spot at the right time.